Hello everybody, Christian from Treasure Town here, and super excited to be with Justin Meunier from Boardwalk Numismatics. We're at the Munich International Numismata. It's my first time being abroad, definitely not your first, but I met him at the New York International Coin Show, one of the biggest world coin focused dealers in the States, and I'm pumped to have you here.
Oh, it's a pleasure to be with you, Christian.
So I guess I often like to hear sort of the story about how you got into dealing, and then we can ask some more specific questions, would be curious on that front.
Yeah, so I grew up just outside of Providence, Rhode Island. My father was very interested in coins, but we didn't have a ton of money growing up. So, if we had a little bit of extra money, we'd go to this little coin shop not too far from where we grew up, a place called Little Rhodey Coin in North Providence, Rhode Island. And, my dad and I would do we cut down a tree or do like yard work for somebody or something like that, and we'd just get $5. And my dad would go and buy like one wheat cent for his Whitman album, or a Walking Liberty half or something like that. And me being a kid, I was like, why would I spend $5 on just one little coin when I could go and for that same $5 get a couple of pounds of world coins? So that's what I would do, is I would go and I would get these boxes of world coins and start going through them. And back in the 1990s, nobody really cared about world coins in the U.S. And I could get most of the silver coins for less than the melt value, and silver back then was very cheap. So I was able to get some really interesting coins, and then I would go to the library and I would get like the old Kraus books and start researching the coins, and like, oh wow, I actually have a coin that Kraus says is worth $10 or $50 or something like that. And I started building up a collection. And the area I was most interested in originally was Canadian and Maritimes. That's where my dad's side of the family's from. So I put together my little collection of Canadian large cents and the 5-cent fish scales and some Newfie stuff, and I absolutely loved it. And the U.S. stuff was fine. It was still coins, but it wasn't where my interests lie, because there just wasn't enough value there for me. And eventually that morphed. In high school you have other priorities, sports and stuff like that. So, put that on the back burner. But when I was about to go in my second semester of school at URI, I needed to pay my tuition. And it's like, well, what assets do I have? I don't really have anything. I'm 18 years old. So I went and, that was 2006. And I put, my coins during Christmas break on eBay. And that was kind of like the prime of eBay, the first time you really had people from around the world bidding on coins. And I put everything for auction, and I had some really good coins that I accumulated over the years that nobody in the U.S. cared about. But I had like a Melbourne centenary florin, and some stuff that was worth several $100s a piece. Mm-hmm. That I paid a fraction of that. Yeah. And so when that was all over, I actually ended up with more money than I needed, and that gave me a little bit of a bankroll to start while I was in college. And so I had a bankroll of like $1,000 while I was going to school, and I still had other full-time jobs and everything. But that little $1,000 bankroll, if I could make $100 a week off of that, that was great. It's extra money for going out and stuff like that. So that eventually that morphed into cutting out quite a few steps. But eventually I started Boardwalk Numismatics full-time in 2014.
Awesome. It's so interesting to hear how different people arrive at the coin dealing as a profession, and I like the steps that took. It seems similar to maybe how I looked at the world coins and ancients, but from there, obviously a lot of steps have been cut out. How did you think, this is my first time being international, I know you're very active on the show circuit, both in the States and, right. Internationally, and how do you think about, doing that?
Yeah, so, a lot of people, when they start out in this business, they start out with working directly for somebody, or, learning from somebody, and I went about it a little bit different of a way. So I kind of had to do things a little bit different than the traditional way. I didn't go and work for a big auction house or a big dealer or anything like that, but that also meant that I kind of had to make my own connections. And very early I realized that there were, basically arbitrage. There were things that I could buy overseas that I could sell for a lot more in the US, and vice versa, that there was stuff that I could bring over to Europe that I could sell for a lot more than what I paid for it in the US. So by not having like a more traditional path into the business, that allowed me to make connections overseas. And, going forward, that's really allowed me, it's awesome to be able to travel internationally and everything. But B, you meet a lot of people from around the world, collectors and dealers. And, sometimes we forget in America because we're so used to everything being a certain way, the grading system that we use, and there's a lot of different ways of looking at the same coins and a lot of different ways of valuing the same coins. And certain things that might not straight grade with like a US third-party grader, and might lose a lot of that appeal to an American collector who only collects things that are in slabs, might very well appeal quite a bit to a collector who's putting it in their coin cabinet in Germany or England or France or something like that. So by being in a lot of different locations and being able to make connections in different places, you're able to sell different things for better prices, in different locations.
Yeah, no, it's fascinating and seems like classic arbitrage. The same way when I've mentioned this maybe in a few videos, but there would be different gold and silver exchanges across the world in ancient times or antiquity, and so you can flow, and if you're able to take advantage of that, there's and it seems from what I've seen on the bourse floor, a lot of really neat inventory that people are offering. So I notice you guys are more focused from a buying perspective maybe than selling this time at the show.
Yeah. So. Generally what we'll do when we're doing an international show is ahead of time clients will contact us with stuff that they want to buy from our website or whatever, and we'll be able to pack that up. We'll work out a deal ahead of time and bring the material right to them. So we do our business before the show and at the show, but we're not laying out inventory just because that gets really complicated with customs and but my main purpose for being in a show like this is to buy, which I spent the money that I came with, so it was definitely successful.
Glad to hear it. I know earlier we talked a little bit about some of your strategy in terms of when you were on the bankroll in college, and if we're thinking about a little bit of advice, not to be careful about how you're buying.
So like I was telling Christian earlier, I think that a lot of people are rewarded for being aggressive with their money strategy. I'm a little bit different. I'm just, I have a wife and a son, and, I've been very conservative with my bankroll. Yes, there's a lot of people that will literally have most of their money tied up at any given time in inventory. But the tricky thing about that is coins are not, numismatic coins, not bullion. Bullion's totally different. Numismatic coins aren't liquid like a stock or something like that. And, if markets change, which they always do, you can end up with something that was worth $5,000 that is not liquid, and the best you can get for it on a short notice is $1,500. And if your bankroll is tied up like that, if you don't have a good percentage of your money free in cash or something that actually is liquid like bullion or something like that, then you can find yourself missing deals when the opportunity presents themselves. So I'm definitely a lot more conservative than some of the younger dealers that we were talking about. But, there's no right or wrong. It comes down to like a tolerance for risk too. Like there's definitely, you're definitely making, if you're able to lay out all your money at any given time, then yeah, of course you're going to be rewarded for that. There's just high risk, high reward.
Awesome. No, thanks for sharing that perspective. Maybe in closing, I don't want to take too much of your time. I know you've mentioned different trends that have gone on. Have you seen anything? I think even like for me, but a lot of the collectors and myself included, it's a totally smaller level than maybe what you're looking at and trading with. Have there been any kind of trends in the last few months and maybe in the last year or two that you've noticed?
Well, in the world coin market, a year is a heck of a long time. There are trends that you pick up, after a couple of months, and then, by the time everyone else notices the trend, that's what the market is. So, there's definitely a lot of trends that are always constantly changing. There are certain things that last year I was able to buy here that, I'm not able to buy here because, the market's caught, I was able to realize that, the stuff is undervalued and, more people are collecting it. And now internationally the prices have caught up. There's, the Latin American market is still pretty hot. Anything crown size is still pretty hot. The Chinese market is always a roller coaster. It's still very much a roller coaster right now. But good quality stuff is still selling, just at different prices than it was last spring. Last spring was probably the peak of the Chinese market. Nice European stuff is still selling very well. But other markets that were really hot for a while, like some of the Czech gold was very hot for a while. That's cooled down a little bit. Then there are other markets that are that are always strong. And one of the things that we specialize in is, coins for the collector, stuff under $500. And, if we weren't able to sell stuff for under $500 to collectors, like true collectors who aren't worried about it as like a value proposition or something like that, then that means the market as a whole has got a big problem with it. And the market for stuff under $500 has stayed very, very strong over the last few years, and I don't see that changing anytime soon.
Oh, that's great news. Wonderful. Well, I have a lot of that stuff in my collection. I've bought from them. I know maybe you have large eBay, big presence at shows on the site. Is boardwalknumismatics.com?
Boardwalknumismatics.com. We're on eBay as JD Mern. We've sold a few 100,000 pieces on there. We're at most of the major shows. And if people ever have a question on anything, for World Numismatics or something like that, it's very easy to contact us, and we'd be happy to talk to you.
Sweet, awesome. Well, we'll make sure to get that stuff in the comments below. I've bought a lot from them, and they've got an awesome inventory, so should definitely check it out, and hope to maybe keep in touch and do a few interviews in the future, figure out what's going on.
Anytime you want, if it's helpful for you, I'd be happy to do it. If you ever want to come down to the office, it'd be great.
Awesome. Thanks so much. We're out. I guess this is my first real coin dealer interview in the live format, so gotta go edit this up. But we'll see you guys soon and try to bring some more similar content in the future. Have a good one. Thanks for watching the video. Make sure to head on over to treasuretown.com and sign up for our email list to stay up to date on everything that's happening, whether it's auction updates, exciting new inventory drops, coin collecting news, or general informational resources. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you on another one.